Hello everyone. Uh, Today I'm going to talk about design doc. And before starting, let me introduce myself. My name is Ashish, and I'm an iOS engineer working for NSM User Growth ANA team. And I've been working in Mercari around since 4 years. Let's talk about what is design doc first. So, you can think of a design doc as like a documentation or like a set of instructions uh, to define like how are you going to solve a problem statement or feature. So when I joined Mercari, then I haven't had any experience over writing a design doc. So when I started writing my first design doc, then I had the question like, why do we really need a design doc, right? I mean, we can just simply implement it, and that will save some time. But with time, I realized that having a design doc is always beneficial for your feature development or for anything which can have a design doc. So, so the purpose of design doc is also to add like some critical analysis of a problem and also like the proposed solution. We can also have some communication over priority, effort, impact, and that also involves with the different stakeholders. So, like there could be several benefits of why we want to have a design doc. So, for example, like when you encounter something like really complicated. So, suppose if you supposed to develop something which is a little complicated, so it's better to have a design doc in that case, so that you can have some overview that how you're gonna solve that issue. Uh, so we talked about what is a design doc, and let me like tell you like why we need a design doc and what are the all the benefits we can have with the design doc. So the first thing you can think of is like we can have a one reference for everything related to that project. So, for example, if your team has a feature you want to develop, or it's not necessarily only a feature, but it can be anything. Like suppose if you want to handle some big technical issue, so you can write a design doc which has all the like information regarding that problem, and you can provide an overview that what this design doc is going to be about. You can write your solution. You can propose a solution in the design doc before starting the coding. So you can propose it like how you're going to solve this issue, and you can provide all the other references as well. So if it's regarding a feature, then you can also have like a feature spec in the design doc. You can have the feature design in the design doc, and also you can mention about how you're going to test it, test the feature, how you're going to release it, what are the release plans for this feature, and several other things. Also, technical details, and what are the architecture you're going to use, and everything. So, over and all, you can think of a design doc as like a point of reference for anything related to a single project or single feature or like a single issue. And another thing is like it's also speed up the implementation. To be honest, so like if you write write if you directly jump in running the code for any issue or like for any feature, then you might feel like it's much more faster, right? But trust me, there can be a lot of issues you can face if you directly jump into writing the code. So here, like design doc helps a lot. So suppose if you have a design doc, so probably you'll have a like a lot of already the you'll basically create a like a roadmap in your mind that how you're going to implement that feature. And so like when you have already have the design doc, so it really helps when you start writing the code, because you don't have to like think a lot, and the execution gets much more easier because you've already thought of all the cases, corner cases, and the direction of an implementation beforehand while writing the design doc. So it really helps to speed up the implementation. And another thing is it's also improved the like quality of the by getting feedback from various stakeholders. For example, like if you suppose if you writing a design doc for any feature,
So those different stakeholders can be like a product manager, QA members, designer, other platform engineers. So when you write a design doc, so while reviewing from while getting review from different stakeholders, you can uh, there can be a lot of feedbacks regarding the spec, regarding the design. There can also be some feedback from a technical perspective from the architect team or like some other uh, same platform engineers, like we can do this as well, we can do that as well. And other thing also is like you might also find some setbacks before starting the implementation, that uh, uh, so suppose there are like some other features which are like conflicting, so those kind of thing you can find out before doing the implementation and while having the design doc, so that like this also helps and find like it helps to find flaws and issues before they happen. So that's another reason why like uh, we should have design doc for most of the cases. And another thing is also improve the code review quality for sure. For example, like if you have the design doc and that has been reviewed by your peer engineers, so if they have already seen the design doc, then it gets very easy for them to give a code review when you start doing the implementation, because they know like how we have mentioned in the design doc that how you're going to implement these things. So it gets them it gets very easy for them, and then they can focus on like other things, and that way you can have a like a better code review. um, and last but not the least, helping to onboard new members. So of course, like design doc helps to onboard new members as well. If we have a like, suppose if there is a design doc for some feature, and you want to like for like 2 or 3 years after, you want to see the if you want to implement something similar, like if your team wants to do something similar, then you can refer to that design doc which has been implemented before, and get some idea like what things has been done before, and how like things has been implemented before, what were the solutions and all everything, what kind of discussions took place. So this also help a lot uh, to onboard like new members. So you can think of design doc as a historical data, and that can also be referred in future. So that's why like when you write a design doc, then you should keep this in mind, that this can be referred in future. So you should write that in that way. So yeah, so far we talked about like what are a design doc and why we need design doc. So far, do you guys have any questions? If anyone has any question, then you can just put in the chat, or you can just ask directly. Hmm. No questions so far. Okay, sounds good. Okay, let's move on to the next. So when, so it's totally depend like when are you supposed to write a design doc? It depends on the team. Like it's up to the team to decide if you need a design doc or not. So usually what we in Mercari, like different team has their own like way to decide or how to write a design doc. But mostly like how it starts is like when once we have an idea created by a PM or like mostly product manager. So then that idea can be like have some design, and the spec has been finalized by that idea. So basically when you have a project which has like a proper spec and finalized design, then you can basically you are ready for implementation, right? So but before the development, if you think that that project is a lot more complicated, and the complexity is really high, and you're not sure about few things regarding like technical details or anything, so you would prefer to write a design doc before, so that you can have like a proper idea like how you're going to implement it. You can mention about the direction, you can mention about like the different priorities, and also the architecture and technical details in the design doc before
before writing the development. So basically, once the spec is finalized, the design is finalized, then you write the design doc. And then when once the design doc is being approved, then you can start the development. So moving on to the next. So how's the process of design doc? Writing a design doc basically. So once you have the, like you are supposed to write a design doc for this project or feature. So first thing first, you're gonna of course look at the project spec overall, like how what that project is basically, and if you have any like if you're not clear about something, then you basically clarify with the product manager, like what is this and how you're gonna uh, design it and all. So and also like if you have an issue with the design, if you're not sure like why this design is in place, and if you find that something is missing regarding the spec or design, so you can discuss with the product manager or like respective team members. And once you have like all the insight and data about that project, then you can start writing the design doc. You start writing it, and once you have like a stable version of that design doc, once you have everything in place, then you can ask for review. And the review, like it's totally depend whom you ask to review. It can be like several stakeholders. So it depends like what kind of project you are working on and what kind of stakeholders you should involve in. And then once the review is done, once everything is done, design doc review is completed, then you can just dive into the coding. Yep. Um, so yeah, is there any question so far regarding when or like the process? Okay. Yeah. If no question, then it should be okay. Yeah. Also, feel free to put drop a question in the chat box anytime. Okay, so moving on, what's the lifespan of a design doc? So as I mentioned, like you can think of design doc as a, like a historical document, and you can that can be referred to anytime in future. So yeah, so but in nutshell, like the lifespan of design doc is like firstly you start writing the draft version, and you keep on like once you have the draft version, and then you can keep on putting the information in the design doc. And if you have something which is while writing the design doc, if you find anything which is not very clear to you regarding the spec or anything regarding technical issues or anything, so you just talk to the respective team members, you communicate with them, and then once you have everything clear, then basically your draft version is ready for review. And once it's ready for review, then you share that document with the wider audience, and then different stakeholders can review your design doc, and from their point of views, for example, PM can see with the point of like the spec, designer can see if the design is mentioned in the design doc is correct or not. And also like other platform teams, so for example like other engineers, uh, and also the architect team can see like the technical details, if everything is in the right direction or not. If and of course if they have any issue, if they have any concern, if they have any question, then that can be discussed over that document. And finally, once the review is done, you get enough approval for the design doc, and you think that now you are ready for like everything is in place, and the feature is basically ready for implementation. So you will start the implementation. And so while doing the implementation, sometimes it's not ideal, but sometimes you might encounter like some issues which you might have missed before while writing the design doc. So if there are like few minor update, so you can update the design doc, uh, so that like it's basically it's one source of truth, so you shouldn't miss out something which is wrong. So if there is like any minor changes while implementation, you did something differently, so it's better to reflect that changes into the design doc itself. But it's better to uh, not just like it's better to basically specify the changes in the document that like this has been changed after getting the approval, and the reason is this. So basically, you should keep the logs so that when people later see the document, so that they can understand that, okay, this has been decided later. So they know like what's going on. And if there are like some major changes, like suppose if there are a lot of changes in the requirements and all, so it's better to always have like another version of that design doc. You can call it a V2 version 2 and mention about all the different requirements, like major requirements and changes in that document instead of using the same document. And of course, the last point is maintenance and learning. So yeah, so maintenance is like as I told, like if there are like any new thing which has been introduced after the design doc has been approved, so you can update it to maintain to make it up to date. And also learning is like that can be like your design doc can be referred in future by people to understand that feature or like that project. So yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one. So how do you write a design doc? So there can be a several template based on your team, and also like there can be you can find several templates for how to write a design doc, technical design doc on online as well. Yeah, design doc team. So as I mentioned, like different team can have like their own way to write design doc. They can have a different template. So yeah, so they can have like each team can have their own different processes. So design docs may be required before implementation of some feature, but it's not mandatory. It's totally depend on like the complication of that feature. So it's up to the team to decide if they need a design doc or not. So and like after writing the design doc, the other engineers or like the tech lead may need to approve. And also sometimes when you have a feature which is like involve some other team domain. So you also need to get approval from those other teams, like cross team members. And as I mentioned, templates might be different, and some teams may not have a design doc flow. So, but yeah, it's not necessary to all the team to have a design doc flow. But yeah, sometimes some teams might have the proper flow, but sometimes might not. As an individual, even if your team does not require it, you might write a design doc for your own learning. So you can also like write it by your own. Okay, thank you so much, guys, for joining. I hope it will be really informative session for you. And yeah, hope to see you guys contributing a lot to the different design doc for Mercari.